It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
Season 2. We'll analyze the scene.
Sounds holly jolly to me.
Before it's over, let's begin.
Bum.
Bum again.
That's right, folks. Since the Christmas season is upon us, we thought the way to celebrate and get into the holiday spirit would be with some holiday reviews.
12 to be exact. Decoratively divided into 4 categories for your Yuletide pleasure.
So, without further ado, silver up those bells, light the multicolored lights, and go out and build a snowman. To join us for some seasonal shenanigans. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Where's my cocoa, BlueDragonFive?
Where's my cocoa? You little idiots, where's my cocoa? It goes on and on and on.
That's tubaphone, spelled T-U-B.
The amount we did that, though, we did the on and on.
Right. So we're back. We're, we're getting close to Christmas, BlueDragonFive. How you feeling about that? You in the holiday spirit?
Yeah.
4 days till Christmas. To tell you the truth, my Christmas kind of peaked with Star Wars. I don't really think anything exciting's coming up. One thing I can tell you that I'm getting for Christmas this year, I'm gonna be getting some money to specifically be saved up to go visit our friend Monkey in March.
That's your Christmas gift, seeing Monkey?
That's basically my Christmas gift. Yeah, is that in March I'll be able to go hop on a plane and go down and see him when he's in the cast of Rent.
I think you should have held that for something more.
No, I don't know. I'm very happy with it. So,
I like Monkey as much as the next guy, but yeah, as a Christmas gift, it's kind of like wasting your genie's wish. It's like
no. I think entirely differently, because you see, the thing for me this year, and it's kind of going to be like a little pre-podcast lecture here, but my family's actually gone through some financial shit this year, and I don't want to get into too many specifics with it, but I've really come around. I'm 25 years old now. I've really come around to the fact that Christmas is absolutely not about material things. Like, I used to just order about $200 worth of material shit on Amazon every year and just call it a day. And my parents would charge that to their credit card, and that'd be it. That'd be my Christmas. I'd just pick out my own presents from Amazon. But this year, like I said, it's like there's nothing I want. There's nothing physically that I want. I have everything I need. So what I really want, because Monkey extended this invitation to me, he said, hey, fly down in March when I'm doing Rent. You can stay at my house and everything, crash at my pad. I'm like, I really want to do that. That sounds great, and Monkey I've been working with him for a number of years and we're close. So yeah, I'm really psyched about just the Christmas spirit in terms of connecting with people who are close to you even though you've never met. I think that's a good Christmas gift to me, even though it's a few months away. Anyways, I apologize for that little side tangent, BlueDragonFive. So what movie are we going to be getting into?
The Santa Claus 3.
Yes, after all that little build up. All right, so we took a look at the Santa Claus from, 1994?
Yep.
1994, good movie, very much leaning towards the nostalgia. I honestly don't really think it holds up all that well. Then we got to the Santa Claus 2, which was a big surprise for me.
Which was great, and potentially the best one out of the trilogy.
I would wager to say it is the best one out of the trilogy.
It's great.
It's got Toy Santa in it, which in itself is amazing.
Who basically plays like diluted Buzz, and that's awesome.
It's got Elizabeth Mitchell in a really good role. It's got
also very nice,
really heartwarming Christmas moments, like the one moment you love with all the board games and everything at the faculty meeting, the faculty party.
The Secret Santa thing, I love that.
Oh yeah. Now we get to the Santa Claus 3, and this is the black sheep of the franchise.
The way I've kind of come about it now is that, you know what, the Santa Claus franchise kind of pairs down to the original Star Wars trilogy. And then the middle one's the best, the first one's the other one everyone loves. It's the one's kind of ingrained in the culture. We all know the premise of the Santa Claus from that one. Then we get Return of the Jedi of the Santa Claus franchise, which would be Santa Claus 3, which again is not bad, but I think Jedi's much better than Santa Claus 3. Don't get me wrong.
I don't think Star Wars is like the best. This is not like Lord of the Rings or Back to the Future.
Well, look, what I'm saying is it's like the third movie syndrome of like, it's like not bad. It's the one like there'll be people that you'll be on all the time, and which Santa Claus 3 is the one that gets repeated on TV all the time. But doesn't mean
do you
it's.
Think of a third movie that's like the best out of the. Well, Toy Story 3.
Yes. And personally, I like one best, but we're not going to get into that.
We're not getting into that. And also Return of the King, but I know you're not a Lord of the Rings guy. So.
But again, I mean, Return of the Jedi, just like personally among Star Wars fans, there's always a varying degree of like people like about it. I'm saying generally, it's like Return of the Jedi is like the one that's people revisit most, but not love as much as the first do.
Well, I think an interesting thing with Return of the Jedi is I don't think I'm alone in sharing my sentiment that when I was a kid, it was my favorite of.
Yeah, many people were introduced to that one at first.
Sure,
I get that, but. In many respects, some people could, like the next generations, could be kind of introduced to Santa Claus 3 in the same way that Santa Claus 3 is on TV a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My point is, it's like Santa Claus 3 is like not as memorable as the first two, but it's a serviceable ending on some in many respects.
But I think now we kind of need to lay out our mission statement for this podcast, which is the fact that this movie is it's got a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, man. I mean, that's fucking low. That's like Alvin and the Chipmunk style low.
Now let's preface that with, the critics have been always harsh on the Santa Claus franchise. Let's make that clear. The two got a 50%, which is obviously 2 being probably the best one out of the trilogy. It's skewed odds right there.
Mm-hmm. So I think BlueDragonFive, you and I, we both agreed there's problems with this movie. It's the weakest of the Santa Claus trilogy. I don't think it's a turkey of a movie by any stretch. I don't think it's a bad movie.
Certainly.
So I guess with that in mind, that's kind of our mission statement. We're going to be kind of defending the movie, while at the same time,
we're giving it a fair shot. We're going to show the good and the bad. That's the mission.
Definitely, because I feel like people just really. I remember when this movie came out, I never saw it because people were just destroying it in reviews, like, "Oh, this movie's awful. It's like one of the worst movies I've ever seen." It. I watched it, and there's some cheesy shit with it. The effects are bad, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. I liked it.
Okay, so let's get to the story.
Okay, so here's the plot, folks. It's a stressful Christmas for Scott Calvin, otherwise known as Santa Claus. Mrs. Claus is about to deliver a baby. I'm just basically going to list off all his major stressors of this holiday, which I think we can all relate to stress around the Christmas season. So Mrs. Claus is about to deliver a baby. Christmas Eve's approaching fast. His family, Charlie and Neil, Laura, and Lucy, Charlie notwithstanding, which are issues we're going to get into later on. His family with his ex-wife are coming to visit. Then the in-laws are coming to visit, which requires a Canadian cover story, which requires like a Canadian transformation of the North Pole to keep the illusion of the secret of Santa Claus intact. And on top of it all, Jack Frost, who has been trying to steal Santa's thunder, is doing community service and secretly hatching a plan to essentially It's a Wonderful Life Santa and take his job, which requires Back to the Future style feats to restore things and have a Merry Christmas in the end. That's the movie in a nutshell.
Okay. So do you want to break down the characters in terms of like new characters and then get into the old ones?
Well, I mean, before we do that, I don't really have a lot of background, but like maybe a few fun facts you might want to know about. So yeah, I'm just pretty much assume that they're doing this movie because the 2 was a success. Well, 2 was a success on some level. Financially, definitely is probably a success.
The one thing about 2 is that I think it came out a little too late for its own good after the original Santa Claus. Yeah,
now they're kind of in they might have signed like a contract of some sort to do this, and they're kind of capitalizing the financials of it, maybe.
Right.
Point is, they're doing a third one, I assume, because there was some success, or like Disney. Bear in mind, Disney at this point they're a superpower, so we can assume they still have some cash on the side back then. So I figured, okay, let's do another one.
Disney was a superpower back then. I don't know, man. That was like in the era of like the Chicken Little and stuff like that.
Well, no, it's 2. All right, yeah.
Disney wasn't really a superpower until Marvel.
All right, fair
They
point.
they went through a rough patch in the 2000s. They definitely did.
And this is before. Well, this is in the. I wonder if this is kind of in the midst of the Pixar deal. So I wonder if they were where that
This
was.
2006 was when Cars was released, and I believe
Yeah.
Cars was the first movie that was after the Pixar deal.
Well,
Correct?
no, Cars was during the deal. To my recollection, Cars and Ratatouille were kind of, hence the DVD discrepancies, is because of those two movies. They were kind of during the transitional period.
Right. Right.
To my knowledge, bear in mind, I remember Cars was just like released while they were doing the basically negotiations were really strong forced after Cars, like during Cars.
Hmm.
And then Ratatouille was like it might have been done or it might have been finished. But that one just might have come out after things were settled. So we don't know about Ratatouille. But those two were like they're the only two Pixar movies without the commentary and the standout features because they're probably busy at the time.
That makes some sense. Okay.
That's my to my knowledge because I remember with Wall-E onwards, and then the deal was set because you have the new Disney opening with Wall-E onwards.
Actually, the new Disney opening kind of threw me off for this as well because I don't remember that new Disney opening being this recent or this old. I'm sorry.
But bear in mind, this is strictly Disney, not Pixar adapting to Disney. So I'm assuming Ratatouille, and the Ratatouille was like the year after this, if I'm remembering.
I'm trying to remember, but like, was that new? I want to say that Meet the Robinsons was the first movie that had that Disney logo, as far as I can remember.
It's I think it might have, but do you think Chicken Little had or no?
It might have.
That's the thing. I don't, to be honest, I think Robinson's might. We're dwelling on the wrong thing right now.
We are.
Okay, regardless, so here are a few background things we're going to things we're definitely going to talk about with the Naughty and Nice category. Well, we know there's no Bernard in this movie. We should get that out.
Yes, boo. I mean, what was that? Was it just a contractual dispute or what?
He was working on a show at the time. He was working on.
That sucks.
In the middle of the show, so he couldn't break that, and they figured, okay, well, we're not going to go out of our way just to fit this guy in there, which was a mistake. So they put
could have
on.
had him come back for like a scene, you know what I
I'm
mean?
guessing, I don't know if it was in the works, if it came out before this or was in the works at the same time. But then there was that Zoom movie Tim Allen did with Spencer Breslin, so I don't know if they're figuring, okay, let's put the kid. And then the Shaggy Dog, so he's worked with the kid a lot, Spencer Breslin. So
okay, to be fair, I think Spencer Breslin is a lot more likable in this movie than he was in the second movie. No,
I got issues with Curtis in this movie, but
well, I had issues with Curtis in the second movie as well.
I think I
less issues with him in this movie.
I mean, I can take or leave him in both of these movies. That's the thing, Curtis. It's like I think I can take him a little more in two, but this movie, it's like he just has a little to do. So I feel if I had more time with him, I would maybe dislike him more.
I don't think he has little to do. I mean, he is the head elf. You know, he is the replacement of Bernard.
That's the thing. He doesn't replace Bernard good enough, in my opinion.
You know what does bother me in this movie, and it kind of like really got under my skin in a very like nitpicky OCD way.
Let's save it for naughty. Let's save it for the bad stuff.
Okay. No, really quick. It's just a really quick point.
All right.
They always refer to, they say like he's the number one elf instead of the head elf.
Yeah.
And they always refer to them as the head elf and the other two and not the number one elf. And I'm like, oh, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Interestingly, this is the first movie since 1997 that Tim Allen and Martin Short have worked together on.
Okay.
Because they worked together in Jungle to Jungle.
Right.
I remember that one. Again, I mean, it's there are some good elements of that movie. Then again, Tim Allen, even a non-too-savory movie, he delivers a good performance with those dramatic moments. I want to point that out. There's a dramatic moment within this movie that is fantastic, and we'll get to that. Also, there's not a whole lot of background. Just basically, they wanted to do another one, and it's just one about making it. Unfortunately, I can't really get into much more background on that. But there are two little factoids that are really interesting. When they made this movie, there were two things. There's one thing set up at the end of Santa Claus 2 they had to change for this movie. Originally, Mrs. Claus, Elizabeth Mitchell's character, the idea was she was going to get fat at the end of 2, and that's why in the little not after credits scene, but when you have like the during the credits, they would play the outtakes and for this movie, but for Santa Claus 2, it was like you saw Toy Santa dancing with a bunch of other Toy Santas, as I mentioned.
Oh, I totally missed that.
And you would also have Elizabeth Mitchell, saddling into the Mrs. Claus, and the idea there they hinted at was that she got fat, and you had prosthetics applied to the face, and she had a big old belly. And in this movie, they changed that to she'd be pregnant to explain that, but also they did a whole pass of it for many scenes, and they had to reshoot these scenes. She had the fat stuff applied to her face along with the pregnancy, and Jack Frost also had a big revamp. So that scene where they're talking originally looked very different. You can find this on the DVD, where it's Jack Frost. They didn't go the cool looking businessman, quite literally cool. They made him look like classic Jack Frost. They put him like a little elf outfit, like you had him like the hat, and he looked all kind of goofy instead of looking kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, like, they revamped a few things, and they created process and stuff, and this unfortunately was Peter Boyle's last movie.
Right.
Yeah, basically I'm just saying like little things here and there that were kind of just changed during the production of the thing, but it's pretty solid, right, kind of run-of-the-mill production on this one. Tim Allen has always mentioned that he loved playing Santa Claus in these movies.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I feel like this franchise is both very disjointed and comes together very well at the same time. It's weird like that.
Yeah, okay, so that's really all the... I'm sorry.
No, like, I just really quick, I just feel like each of the movies was kind of like made separately from each other. Like we said, there was that big gap between the Santa Claus 1 and 2, but they all come together really well, and we've got that Back to the Future 2 style ending here. So it's odd. It's like they feel dissimilar to each other, and yet the storyline somehow in Tim Allen as Santa Claus especially works, and it carries itself through the 3 movies very well.
Yes, I mean, there is some really interesting rewatching this, analyzing this. I actually happened upon a lot of interesting stuff, which we'll get into when we get into kind of our nice category, maybe throughout this. So let's get into the characters with that said.
Right, like I said, you want to do new characters first?
Well, it's your call. What do you want to do?
Let's do new characters first, really quick, just to introduce them.
Okay, Jack Frost.
Okay, this guy is really entertaining.
Is the great, the powerful Martin Short, folks, as Jack Frost, and he's got a really cool design, which I really love. Him like the Jack Frost, and like the really kind of the vest and everything. He has like an icicle tie, and he's got the frostbitten hair. It looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of this fame. He views Santa as a fame jockey. He's like, he's getting all the publicity. All I have is one line in a song and some dead citrus. That's all I have.
But he goes nuts for that one line, though. He loves that one line.
I know, it's you feel bad. Jack Frost is coming from respect. Again, it's not as moving as the Rise of the Guardians Jack Frost, but still, you understand the slant he's in of like, he and I share the winter season here, and I make the winter season, and he gets the holiday. What about me? I'm a legendary figure. I mean, you guys all have your shticks and your jobs. I'm just the opening act.
Yeah, Jack Frost, it's like he's sympathetic, but at the same time, he's also really over the top and cartoony.
Exactly. And Jack Frost, he's very selfish in that he wants some credit, but he's not really in it for like his purpose of the holiday like the rest of them. They're all like obsessed with their purpose and like helping the world, helping the kids, all that stuff. Jack Frost, he just wants the recognition. I love the way Martin Short plays him, and that he plays him like, again, I think the look has a lot to do with this compared to what it originally looked like. Is that the look here? He's like a Vegas lounge act. He's an opening act, quite literally. He's a performer. That's what he does. He's the guy who he's the Hollywood-esque guy. He walks in with the sunglasses. He has the cardboard standees. He's all about. He wants the notoriety Santa has, and I think it's a really smart way to play him.
And he also really wants the marketing opportunities.
And what's so great about this interpretation of Jack Frost in comparison is look at the Santa Claus trilogy as a whole when you really think about it. Is that, again, there are many elements, there are many layers when you reanalyze this movie. It's kind of makes it a little better, in my opinion. Is that Jack Frost represents everything Scott Calvin could have become in the first Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's true. And he really is, I mean, we have Toy Santa there as... I think Toy Santa is honestly kind of more of a joke than he is a straight-up antagonist.
He is. Toy Santa is a lot of fun.
But Martin Short's a lot of fun too, but I think Martin Short is definitely like between Toy Santa and him, he's the more fleshed out of the two villains.
Yeah, Jack Frost, interestingly, he has kind of like a Frank Gorshin angle to him, is that he's very comical, but he has those intimidating moments of like, you can see this guy, and he's just kind of, the cogs are turning in his head, and he's planning something. He's naughty. He's like more naughty than evil.
He manipulates people really well.
Exactly. It's like he's just like the ultimate naughty kid,
Mm-hmm.
And it works. That's the way he's playing it. And again, what I say with kind of parallel between him and Scott Calvin is that he is like Scott Calvin ascending to a place of power through marketing and just being like a toy executive, like the marketing executive guy, like just like all about fame, getting that notoriety. Is that Scott Calvin, like he's at the beginning of the first Santa Claus movie, he's going in front of the business, all the guys saying, you guys did a wonderful job, everything is just kind of like he's forgetting about the family aspect, kind of forgetting about the magic of Christmas, and he's just kind of going off in that direction, which maybe would turn him into a cold person down the line. I might be stretching for a lot of this, but just go with me for a bit. And with Jack Frost, it's all about just kind of which we're definitely going to see one of the best sequences in the movie. It's about the monetary value of Christmas. It's about just on the surface level what Christmas is, which is what Scott Calvin's bread and butter was, not about the magic, which is interesting parallel between them.
Okay.
And again, it's like the camaraderie they have from their experience in like Jungle of Jungles. They have a good back and forth of like, oh, these guys.
Well, I like the dynamic between Santa and Jack because I like how Santa at first like really wants to give Jack a fair shot.
Yeah, we'll table that for a little when we get to dynamics. Okay. So new characters, right? So I guess we have Lucy was introduced in 2, so
yeah, she was. So is Jack Frost really the only new character here?
The
in-laws.
In-laws, yes.
Right.
In-laws. Bud and Sylvia.
I mean, Alan Arkin, it's like Alan Arkin is very serviceable here. I mean, he can do a role like this.
Alan Arkin's always good.
Back.
Alan Arkin's always entertaining.
I don't think he should have won an Oscar for Little Miss Sunshine over Steve Carell or Paul Dano. But did he? Different argument. He won an Oscar for Little Miss Sunshine, and Steve Carell and Paul Dano weren't nominated, and I thought they were far better performances in that movie. But I digress.
I'm sorry, remind me, Paul Dano, just the name I'm not quite...
Paul Dano is, shit. What has he been in that you would know?
Well, give me what character he played in Little Miss Sunshine. Describe the character.
Dwayne. He played the teenager.
Oh, him. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely see why he could have been up for it. Okay.
He was fucking great. And I think he's going to get some awards buzz for Love and Mercy.
I don't know. Just between those 3 options, I don't know. Alan Arkin might have earned it because he was a good character, and that he was a complex character. They're all complex characters. That's the issue.
Anyway,
back to this. So Anne Margaret, she was. It was just the novelty of having Anne Margaret in there, and she could sing for a little bit.
Right.
But Anne Margaret, she wasn't a bad. I mean, the casting on these 2 wasn't bad. I mean, they're not bad people.
The casting's not bad. I just think the characterization is kind of just generic. Like, oh, it's the in-laws. The father's always cranky, and the mother's like kind of fake and bitchy.
Now, bear in mind, they did set that up in 2 that her parents fought a lot.
That's true.
They set that up in 2 and they fought a lot, and then they kind of put a lot of that here with the characterization. Unfortunately, there's no resolve for that. They don't really do anything with. Again, Carol's not exactly as fleshed out as she was in 2, and with this element added to the plot, I mean, it's her parents after all. That should be a big thing.
I would wager to say Carol loses a lot of dimension in this movie, and it hurts me to say that because I love Elizabeth Mitchell. So much.
And again, I mean, the moment she does have, I mean, she has a few good moments, but again, not really as serviceable.
She has a few good ones, but she also has just a few, like, I don't know, not necessarily bad moments, but just like, okay.
It's like there's so much potential you could, with that setup and 2, like, her parents would fight a lot, and that kind of helped, that took the magic out of Christmas, and her parents don't really get into the Christmas season. At least her father doesn't. It was kind of, that was the conflict, and they're the reason she was disillusioned with Christmas, and why Scott Calvin awoken that in her, and that's why they fell in love. There's a lot of potential that's missed there because of that.
The problem is that they kind of turned the parents bickering into a joke, like literally. Because it was probably the most heart-tugging scene in the entire Santa Claus 2, was that whole scene with their parents and Christmas and everything.
Yes, and with the parents there, with the kind of it played for comedy, it's that anytime they try to make it meaningful, it kind of comes across as you might really hate using this word, as awkward in places. Like it just really It's like they're trying to go for something maybe meaningful, but they just drop the plot line. They don't pick up on it.
To be fair, I do like the whole Yosemite story bit.
That's what I'm saying.
That was a funny bit.
They're bickering with bearing that in mind. I mean, their bickering is still pretty funny though. They bicker like married couples and like realistic married couples. They will bicker about these sort of things, which is funny, and they're playing that characterization well. But what's set up for them and the position they're trying to fit them in there with the conflict of the story doesn't play out well, which is an issue.
Right.
Okay, so I guess that's it for our new characters.
There's no new elves or anything like that.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to talk about. No other new characters.
All right, fair enough.
I mean, there's the
It's all
assistant.
good.
There's the assistant guy that was Kripke from The Big Bang Theory, but I don't think we need to spend time on him. I think we're good.
No, I think we're good. Okay, so let's get into the big guy himself.
Santa, Scott Calvin.
Yes.
So yeah,
No, I
as
was
per
talking
usual.
about Neil. No, I'm just kidding.
What's that big guy? I mean, come on. Okay, but Tim Allen is always delivering good performance to Scott Calvin, I think, and he was really. It's like you get to see him into a place here. It's interesting looking at the progressions of him with this character. You know, the first movie is him getting to a place of acceptance. He is at that. He's like enjoying that place of acceptance where it's like now Santa Claus being taken away from him is a big deal, and two where the first movie was
Can you
ruined.
give me a second? Can you like? Hold on. No, just go ahead. I'm gonna.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And in as Santa Claus 3, you have another layer of it here. So, okay, so first movie, it's Santa Claus ruined his life. Second movie, Santa Claus outside of his life is something he can't imagine because he's so used to, he's loving it. And 3 here is that it's something a little similar to that, but in a different way, where he's just like a completely comfortable Santa. Everything's coming up 7 for Scott Calvin, but he's just losing. It's starting to weigh on me. It's like now it's like the stressful Santa Claus. Like now he's in a routine of like, I do this and this is now it's starting to become a little bit much. Like Christmas is starting to get a little complicated now.
All right, I'm back.
I gotta please all these. I gotta please everyone here. I got a lot of weighing on me. I'm gonna be a father. It's like all these issues, which again we'll touch on in a little while there. But it's still it's the stress is starting to weigh on Scott Calvin's. Like the busy Santa Claus is starting to weigh on him now. So it's a new dimension of character Tim Allen's playing with here. Just the really stressed out guy around the holidays.
And I would wager to say that this whole trilogy is probably the most dimension we've ever seen from a Santa Claus, which I think is very impressive. Like there's definitely some admirable traits with this trilogy. Like, could you even think of another holiday trilogy?
Well, I know the Tom Cavanaugh thing's only 2 movies, so I don't know. There's no a third one. To be honest with you, absolutely not. I cannot.
Yeah, me neither. I think this takes the cake.
Yeah, right. It is the definitive holiday trilogy at the moment.
Right. Okay, so is that it for Scott?
Yeah, I'll save the rest of my good stuff for Scott when we get to the nice category.
Okay.
All right, I guess let's get to Carol. Not a lot there, but let's talk about her. So she's pregnant. Yay for Carol.
That's basically it. I mean, we can just move on from there. She's pregnant.
No. But seriously, what she's dealing with this time around is that she is. It's like living with the fact she's starting to get like kind of I'm trying to look for the word I'm looking for. Not tunnel vision, but it's like she's just seeing elves everywhere. It's like she's not losing her humanity, but she's kind of like she longs for a normal life at this point. So she's wondering. A part of her is wondering if she did the right thing, which I mean, personally, she cannot imagine not being here because she loves this place. She loves Scott. But it's like she's starting to get a little tired of it. It's like she's pregnant. She has no other kind of tall people to support her around here.
I love that bit where she's like, "Oh, tall people. Not that you're not tall, sweetie, but tall people."
That's the thing. It's like again, it's not that she's like sick of being in the North Pole, but it's starting to weigh on her. Like she can't have her parents up here because of the secret of Santa. She can't have that emotional support. She can't have, it's just nothing but. Scott's the only person in her life, which is good for her, but still, she's like, it's the only person she can have in her life, and you just gotta. It starts to weigh on you after a while. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the elves, they're always like sickly cute and adorably sweet to her, but that's gonna get old after a while.
And it's everything she ever wanted. She wouldn't trade for anything in the world, but still, it gets a little old after a while, And again, it's I guess her arc really looking into it is that she's gonna bring new life into this world, and there might be kind of a subtle thing of like. I'm going to bring new life in this world. Am I going to bring him into this kind of pure Christmassy world? Am I going to try to kind of influence kind of like the whole world as a whole and try to raise in regular society?
Right.
Which, I mean, it's not really anything they play with. There's no time for that. It's not. That's not the story they're telling. I'm just saying there might be something in the background, but I'm stretching with that. I know that. But
I really don't like the framing device either. I thought the framing device was really unnecessary.
Yeah, they reuse the footage when she's delivering the baby, and they.
Like, really? Did you
Well,
really need to
I'll
have
tell you.
that opening bit with her in the
Well, let
classroom?
me tell you what that bit originally was, Tiki. So let me tell you why that bit's in there. So originally there was an extended opening, and the extended opening actually makes that make a little more sense. It was ideally a recap of the trilogy. That was what they were doing. So there was this actually it's a really clever thing where they in the deleted scene they have an opening where it's her teaching the class, and one of the kids, I guess, asked about how Scott Calvin became Santa Claus. Like, how did you meet Santa? How did you end up here? So she takes us through the opening of the movie, just a recap for the audience who haven't seen it. But I guess they figure that everyone has seen the first two if they're going to see Santa
Yeah,
Claus.
I was gonna say that sounds like really
Exactly.
that sounds like very unnecessary. What's the word I'm looking for? Fucking exposition.
Yeah.
Wow. I lost the word exposition from my vocabulary for a couple of seconds.
Okay, but regardless, I mean, I get you there. I mean, you understand why they cut it, but they were kind of stuck with the sequence at that point, keeping it in there. Like, well,
No,
like,
I don't necessarily think you're stuck with a sequence. I think you could have just flashed back to, started the movie with her pregnant and just been just fine.
well, anyway, so what I'm getting here. So that sequence actually was a well done sequence. I mean, if you're gonna do a recap, that was the way to kind of do a recap. It was this little neat thing where she had like a little wooden doll of Tim Allen, like the thin Tim Allen, like a
Oh,
basically
that's cool.
he was in like red underwear and stuff, like the long
Right.
johns, and basically she would put the Santa coat on to explain the story as like you saw a bit of the clips here just showing the footage from the first movie. She mentioned she met Scott Calvin, and then of course they fell in love, and then she had a baby. Well, then of course the story of the baby.
Right.
I'm saying that's where the frame device came from. I guess they were in their minds, I guess, and whether they could have just started with her pregnant. I mean, the delivery thing, again, it's kind of a cliche, like you have the false delivery in there. That's kind of getting old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess what they're really hammering in there is it's the stress of the holidays that they really want. You don't want the position of Santa Claus being kind of the Walter White situation where he's not around when the baby's born. You don't want that moment.
That's definitely one of the things they play with, for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why they hammer that. And there's like another thing to stress Santa Claus around the holidays with. Like, his wife could be delivering any minute. It's his worst nightmare that he'll miss the delivery because he's delivering presents, putting work over home life, which I'll mention when we get to the good category a little more. That's Scott Calvin's big arc this movie. It's like him becoming what he was in the first movie. It's like him backpedaling to what he was in the first movie, putting work over family.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I guess that's what they're getting at with that opening and just that framing device, which, as a framing device, I mean, it gives a little more sense to the ending, I guess, of her in the classroom, but yeah, they could have found
It's actually very rare that I like a framing device, to tell you the truth, when it's done like this.
I don't think it's the worst framing device because, man, they do set that up at the end of 2 that she's the principal of the elf school, so they have to get that in somehow.
Yeah, that's true. That's the one thing, is it ties back to her role in the second movie of being a principal, but...
So, I mean, there's a little bit there. And the idea is they built that elf school just to keep her around, which is kind of cute. So, I don't know. It's kind of... You give it a pass. It's continuity. That's why.
Okay.
Anyway, so, Carol, unfortunately, not out there. A lot of missed opportunities with Carol. But, Elizabeth Mitchell, she's still bringing the charm and the little aspects there. And she has some emotional bits here and there. But, again, not a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Lucy, she has a big role this time around.
She does. I really like her character.
Yeah, Lucy was good in this. Really kind of building on kind of like Scott's surrogate daughter.
Right.
Yeah,
the one thing I thought was a little like on the nose was the whole magic hug business. I'm like, really? That's that? You know what it actually reminded me of? BlueDragonFive. It reminded me of the whole Pokemon Tears thing from Pokemon the first movie.
Okay, I don't think I didn't see that. I think you're stretching with that one, too.
Well, think about it. The parents are frozen. Ashes turn to stone. It's the same thing. And it's like this magical, emotional bullshit. All right. Anyways.
I'm not gonna dwell on that. I'll tell you later. I have a rationale for the Pokemon thing.
No. We don't have time for that.
I know we don't have time for it now. I'm just gonna tell you later. It's a little rationale for the Pokemon, and it's gonna make you laugh. It's a silly thing. Okay, anyway, Lucy, she's good. Yeah, you're right. She's good in the movie. She's kind of our can't really think of the equivalent, but I don't know, the magical hug thing. It's kind of you can definitely smell setup in the beginning there, but I think the payoff. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can smell the setup. I think the payoff's very satisfying.
Okay. She's definitely kind of the fill-in for Charlie. I think that's an easy kind of comparison, right? Charlie in the first movie.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, she is our film for Charlie because I guess they. I don't think it's not the actor was unwilling or anything, but I think it's just they didn't have room for Charlie in the story because otherwise he would have been.
Frankly, I don't really blame them. Like, I don't really see where you could have fit Charlie in.
I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. Charlie's not in this, but you kind of wish he had more of a role because he was kind of a fixture of the other two.
Yeah, but then again, it's like I don't. The one thing that bothers me is he gets dumped from the movie in a very sort of like, hey, this is the reason why this character is not going to be in the movie.
But I remember it's kind of another thing that does connect to the first movie. If I'm right, I could be wrong here, but I think it's the same girl that he was starting to have feelings for in the second movie.
It was, yeah.
He was going into a ski trip or something that. Bear in mind, this also calls back to a great sequence in our kind of our third act here, which again, third act is the best part of this movie. Where Scott gave him permission to go and visit the girl for the holidays.
Right.
Where was I going? Oh yeah, it's a shame that Charlie and Bernard, kind of the fixtures of the first two, were not in the movie together. That's the issue. Is that you don't really get a final payoff.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's a main issue with Charlie and Bernard not being in the movie enough.
That's the place where you could have had Bernard. Like Bernard could have just been retired, because Spencer Breslin is the head elf.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I think we'd all be in tears if we saw something bad happen to Bernard, like him in the position that all the other elves are in the third act. If we saw Bernard in that scene,
oh yeah, totally.
If we saw him just like the worst position, just seeing Scott Calvin, just kind of like not like that at all.
Okay.
That'd be sad. But okay, let's see. Lucy's solid. Nothing really to add there. I mean, she does kind of make a mistake in the movie, and you'll notice she actually is kind of the downfall of Scott Calvin when you really think about it in this movie.
In a way.
In many ways. I'll get into that. We'll get into that. But let's see. Neil and Laura.
Laura is just kind of there. I mean,
Laura, I got issues with Laura. We're going to get to that week. No, I had issues with Laura.
Okay. I mean, I didn't really find anything particularly offensive with her, but Neil I love. Neil is my single favorite element of this movie. Simply because I love the fact that they keep so much of the original cast around. It's like the thing I like about Neil is like in the original Santa Claus, he's just kind of like this silly like psychologist douchebag kind of guy,
The guy who thinks he's the smart guy in the room.
Right. He's not really
the doctor. He knows what people are talking about. He's doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not really that likable, and it's like such a cliche to have like the boyfriend of the ex-wife be like an unlikable douche.
Yeah, but he wasn't. He actually cared about the kid though, and you liked him. That's where he sold you in the first one.
Yeah, that's true, but even still, I think his development throughout all three of the movies is very satisfying.
Just becomes the goofy guy in the sweater that you laugh at.
Right, exactly. Because two Scott and Calvin are still kind of like a little bit like they're antagonistic, but in a friendly rivalry sort of way.
Ever since he's like, I think Neil said it best in 2, where he said, you becoming Santa Claus made you a better man, or at least that might have been this movie also. They kind of have a similar, like Laura says in one movie, Neil says in another. Like, becoming Santa Claus has benefited you greatly and become a better man.
Of course, the thing I remember the most about Neil from the second is that whole bit about trying to get the tooth.
Yes.
But
that's the thing. Even in 1, though, you get this great development of Neil of like he genuinely, there's a real guy underneath. There's this Charlie. I'm so sorry. You were right.
Right, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, I think his overall progression is great, and I think him just being like, the over the top kind of like kid in a grown up's body, like amazed.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
It works so well. It works so well for his character.
And again, they played up the sweater gags at the nth level in this movie, where he has a reversible sweater on. Hey, look, Scott, it's reversible.
Like, that's what I love. It's like when Scott and him first, there's no ill feelings towards each other at all.
Neil has a fantastic moment in the third act, by the way. He has the best Neil moment, the most dramatic, awesome Neil moments in the third act.
And Neil also has my favorite line in the whole movie, which I'll get to in terms of, do you want me to say it now?
Oh, I'm sorry for, save it for your moment.
No, it's not really a part of my favorite moments, though.
All right, what do you got?
Wait, remind me what moment with Neil? No, yeah, it's definitely not part of my favorite moments.
All right, what do you got? What do you got?
Okay, so it's when it's when Lucy and Neil first get to the North Pole. Lucy's running all around. She's like, "Ooh, toys!" Right? And then Neil's chasing after her, and he's like, "Lucy, wait!" And then he's like, "Ooh, trains!" I love that. I had to pause and I just cracked up. Ooh, trains! That was the best line of the freaking movie for me. It's 2 words, but it's just delivered with like the utmost sincerity and glee. Ooh, trains!
Oh, Judge Reinhold, you man, you.
All right. Anyways.
Okay. Let's see. So, let's just quickly run through. Council of Legendary Figures. Seeing them again. Again, our wonderful cast too. Of course, you get Mother Nature played by Aisha Tyler, who was Lana on Archer. Seeing her back, because Mother Nature's good. Father Time, unfortunately, last movie Peter Boyle, but he was great. And the idea that he and Mother Nature had kind of like a relationship on the side was always nice. Easter Bunny, he's back. He is kind of a stinker of a joke at the end, but he's happy-go-lucky though. There he is. He's always the happy. He's the jolly Easter Bunny. And Michael Dorn as Sandman got some stuff to do, and he was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's probably the standout of the legendary figures here.
I couldn't stand hearing the Yosemite story.
That's
Michael Dorn, and also Michael Dorn was in Ted 2 recently. Michael Dorn's always pretty funny.
I also love the moment where, right before they're about to get into the in-laws, and Scott's like telling him about the excuse, and he's like, I might be sleepy, but I'm not stupid.
Again, Michael Dorn gives such credit to this character, such legitimacy. Again, the legendary figures are cast very well. I want to make that clear. They're very well. They can carry their own movies in theory.
I would actually be totally down to see like a legendary figures like spin-off movie.
Well, technically, we got that with Rise of the Guardians. Technically,
oh god, no, not technically.
Okay, well, of course, is the Molinator. Seeing him again, that's pretty neat.
I love the fact that Scott instantly refers to him as, "Hey, what's up, Molinator?"
The Tooth Fairy is so wonderful.
Yeah.
I love his World War I cap. Cupid, Kevin Pollak playing Cupid, he's upgraded to a skirt instead of a diaper.
Oh God.
It's really just kind of the legendary figures are there. They hold a meeting and they help out in the end. That's really all. That's really what their shtick is.
Yeah, they're fine.
But there's some continuity established there with the rules of legendary figures that they can't use their powers on each other, which was established in 2, where Scott can't use Cupid's arrow to fall in love with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm just saying, I like the continuity of that. You can't use your powers on each other. Like Mother Nature can't thaw people out.
Right.
Okay, so dynamics. We mentioned a little bit of this already with Scott and Frost. As I mentioned, they have a really good parallel with each other. Anything else, like any fun dynamics you want to mention with the 2 of those guys?
No, I just really like the fact that Scott is very much in the Santa spirit of wanting to give this guy a chance, and he's kind of naive to, how much of a trickster he is.
Well, I'll tell you what I love most about that, Tiki. What I love so much, and again, it's in connection to the best one out of the trilogy. A lot of 2s in this movie, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Scott does the exact same thing he does with Charlie in 2 with Frost here. When you think about it, Frost, he's in trouble and he asks for community service. I think on some level that resonates with Scott, because Scott's thing is like, if someone's willing to do good or someone's not far gone, he mentions that too. Like, okay, well, he screwed up and he wants a second chance. Okay, community service. Curtis is your boss. Okay, you screw up, you're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
You're suspended. But I like it. Again, remember Scott's anti-suspension with Charlie. He's like, he really doesn't want to just punish people that's going to just make him less useful. He just wants to kind of direct that into something positive, which is his parenting style, which is Scott Calvin as a character, which is really interesting.
Definitely.
And in some level, if you want to look at it, it's that maybe Santa Claus as an entity just views Jack Frost as, we are kind of winter brethren in some respects, so I should be kind of the big brother to you in some way.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Just like basically we should look out for each other. And you're asking for a second chance because I'm the nice guy that I am. I'm Santa Claus. I'll give you a second chance, but do not bite me with this, which of course he does. Scott and Lucy, we should probably talk about.
Right.
Yeah, it's like they have a really good dynamic that kind of transcends alternate timelines, which is nice. Scott using his kind of his, because he does actually genuinely like Lucy, as we saw in the second one, where they're playing cards together. It's like he's a good guy, even when he ceased to become Santa Claus on the surface. He was the fun uncle.
I'll tell you, one of the most emotionally effective moments for me in this movie is when Scott comes upon Lucy and she's like the spoiled brat.
Yeah,
And the
what's up,
actress
Mr.
does a good
Calvin?
job.
It's like she's not too bad. It's like, why am I talking to this guy? Because technically, it's like actually
Well,
he's.
no, she is kind of bratty because she's kind of leading Neil around like, Dad, I want this and I want this, you
Well, I
know.
mean, yeah, she's bratty to Neil, but not bratty to Scott necessarily.
No, but I'm saying just the reveal of Lucy and, you know, in that alternate timeline and just not being the, you know, the pure at heart kid that she is as Scott knows her, you know.
Yeah, it's like Scott being an uncle to her is like he's by proxy an uncle, but really not an uncle to her. Like he is called Uncle Scott in two because you know he's the beloved kind of father. He's Charlie's father, and he's close to the family, and so he's not like a brother or anything to
Right.
Neil, but he's kind of his Uncle Scott because he's close to family. Charlie's dad, and of course the idea here is like you know he literally has no connection to her directly, so why should she care? It's like, oh, what's up, Mr. Calvin? It's like, okay, he's a guy maybe hangs around the house once in a while. I don't know this guy at all. I have no allegiance to this man. And of course, you buy that, you still kind of bond together. And it's kind of a sweet message there. You know, Scott knows how to get to this kid, and you can still a friendship that can still maintain.
Yeah, definitely.
The last one we should probably talk about, unless there's any other dynamics you can think of, probably be Carol and Frost real quick, because you know they kind of have a, you know, their dynamic is kind of important. It feeds into the plot.
Well, I mean, everything that Frost is doing is just kind of like feeding doubt into Carol. That's what he's really good at.
And again, that's the main thing we have with Carol. This movie is like doubt is being fed into her, and she has some actual doubt to maybe consider. Unfortunately, there's no payoff with all her doubt, but I mean, you know, Scott kind of talking. Well, again, Scott's not really talking you out of anything. He's just kind of reaffirming that you know I've been foolish and you are important to me. But you know, you have this great scene with Frost and Carol where they're picking out the tree, and Frost draws the parallel of like, you know, this tree seems neglected, and you know, Carol seems neglected around the holidays. That your marriage might be not in trouble, but you know, it's like not things aren't turning out the way you thought they would. Like you know, you're away from your friends, your family, you can't really contact anyone. You're stuck in the North Pole, and you know. Your husband's gets busy with you know as the years go by, and you know this isn't going to stop until he's dead, quite literally. Doesn't say that, but that's the honest truth, and he will not stop until he's dead, being Santa Claus.
Right.
He falls off a roof, literally. And you know, it's kind of the sad truth. And again, Frost isn't exactly lying to her; he's just putting that doubt in her mind, so she get to a place of weakness there, and just manipulating her. And it's interesting. There's truth used in this manipulation, which is always like any lie. The most stronger a lie is the most truth that's infused into it.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
And you feel bad for Carol too, like her, and she still defiantly like she sticks up for the tree. It's like, oh look, there's Scott now. You know, she's sticking up for the little tree because she identifies her. Okay, and she doesn't hate Frost either. It's like again, because she's being manipulated. She doesn't take an instant dislike to Frost, even though like he's trying to upstage. She sees like she doesn't view him as a naughty kid like she usually would, like in the high schools. Like she's evolved from her principal state, so she's just viewing this guy on the surface for what he is.
Right.
So being like legendary by proxy has kind of affected her too. That she's seeing the good in people over like the rottenness.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite scenes.
All right, you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, so I'm gonna just highlight Neil really quick. I already got to my favorite little bit with Neil, but it's not really a full scene. So it's kind of two miniature scenes for me. It's kind of like that play off of each other. It's just when Neil goes into like the spiritual guru mode, you know, and just starts to like. So the first bit is when we have the, you know, they're all debating with Scott about whether or not Lucy should come to the North Pole for the first time. And Neil just, first of all, I love the sound effects. I love whenever Neil breaks into this, you hear like that kind of like, you know, that East Indian sort of like song. Right. And Neil's like, well, Scott, you need to think about this. What's going to happen to your 10-year-old niece if she's left out of this family event? The trauma could scar her. And you know, it's Neil like.
And Scott's looking at him like an eye chart, by the way. He's like, "What the heck is going on here?"
Right. I mean, the thing that I love about this is it's kind of like Neil, the obnoxiousness of Neil in the first movie, but just done in a very self-aware, cartoonish sort of way.
Yeah.
And then just really quick, then Neil, when he gets to the North Pole, he doesn't. What is it? He leads like a yoga thing or something with the elves.
Basically,
I forget exactly what it is.
It's a stress relief thing for the elves.
Right.
Remember, stress can take hundreds of years off your lives.
And it's like he's having them all like lay on their stomach and everything.
Now remember, I won't be here. I won't always be here. Remember, stress can take hundreds of years off your life.
I'm sorry. I'm going to be curious to see what your problems are with this guy because I really loved him.
Well, it's less. It's less. We'll get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my moment, I'll bring up just to kind of balance it. I'll bring up a really positive Neil thing. That Austin Neil scene.
Okay.
But first of all, let me just kind of set the stage. It connects with my big moment here. So if I can take away, again, as I've said before, the third act, I think the first act sets up some good ideas, and the third act is just the best part of the movie. With the third act, it really kicks off with this really fantastic scene. I cannot get enough of this. Like one of the greatest scenes in this movie. If I can take one scene away from this movie, it's Scott after it. So this is like during the "It's a Wonderful Life" section of the film. So Scott is now he's in the world where he didn't become Santa Claus, where Frost has in fact become Santa Claus. So he's now he tells Laura, I'm going to make everything better. Which again, this whole sequence, the reason I really love it is again we get the shades of Tim Allen that we don't see that often. We get the humanity and the drama of Tim Allen, which I love that you don't see it enough. Which is why I love this moment so much. So he gets to the North Pole, just investigating, how things are under Frost's control. We see people are actually allowed into the North Pole. So basically, the magic of Christmas is completely gone. It is nothing but commercialism in the most horrific of ways. Scott Calvin, the businessman at this point, he walks in there, and there's this one moment, and it's so well directed. He just takes a moment where you really don't hear it. It's like kind of muffled sound. You hear the sounds around Scott Calvin, but like it's a little muffled. You know what I mean? Where he just it's like almost as if he takes a breath and he stands around looking very depressed. Great dramatic acting from Tim Allen, just like taking in all of Frost, this commercialism of Christmas. This is one of the most great. This is a great analysis of the commercialism of Christmas in the scene. It really is. Just he's taking it in. You hear like this really theme park-esque North Pole all around him, just going like. He's saying, shave. You hear like Frost's things on the radio, like shave a reindeer for $5, like the most ridiculous stuff. And like
shave a reindeer,
literally for $5 too. He's cheap too. But seriously, I mean,
that reindeer doesn't have any self-respect.
But it's worse. I mean, it's really tragic in that just the moment he takes a deep breath and you're just like seeing how horrific it is. And Scott's feeling really guilty of like, because I screwed up, this is what's happened. I've killed Christmas. And he's looking around him and he's seeing all the commercials. Like, there are lines. He hears like parents and children arguing, yelling at each other, very unseasonal. It's like, well, but I didn't want this. Well, too bad. I paid too much money for this and we're doing it. It's like the most unpleasant.
Oh, God.
It's like the most unpleasant Christmas you've ever heard. It's like out of the way, spend somewhere else. And it's like it's so heartbreaking. You have kiosks, you have poor elves being like they're ticket takers. They're handling the cash and they're handing out these cheesy pens. And it's then you hear the Comet, our beloved reindeer from the trilogy. He is like it ends with a sequence ends with Comet laying out this scream of like the reindeer at a petting zoo, like, and your heart goes out.
Right, that is effective. I do not love Comet because he is the source of all the fart jokes in this franchise.
Okay, look, just go with me for the moment here. I'm saying we like Comet aside from the fart jokes in the trilogy. Am I right?
I also find the look of him very, very unsettling. Like the puppet or whatever the fuck they do with him.
All right, fine. The essence of Comet, which is what got us in here in the first place, in that
essence of Comet. That sounds like a perfume. Essence of Comet.
Well, given the fart jokes, you probably don't want to mention essence of Comet.
Oh, God. Like I said, man, it's like I'm just like sitting down with my big tub of popcorn, and then there's a big old reindeer fart, and I'm like, oh.
Well, maybe you shouldn't eat during the movie. How's that? That's an idea.
Well, maybe they shouldn't have gross fart jokes during the movie. It's an American pastime to eat in the movies. God damn it.
Okay, anyway.
That's how American movie theaters make their money nowadays.
Can I finish with my point, please?
Sure, I'm sorry.
My point is, with Comet, though, you do have a role of importance in that, he's the one who kind of, like, he got Calvin to put on the Santa suit, essentially, because of him and his son. He's the one who kind of gave him, like, are you growling at me? I go down that chimney. It's like Comet did have an important role within the trilogy in that respect. And point is, like, you feel bad, poor Comet, like, it's like he's a pig, so you feel really bad for him, and just like
very over the top.
no, but seriously, it's such a well-directed, dramatic sequence in the Santa Claus movie. It's really impactful. It's a good message.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like the last. I think the last act of this movie is like the last act of Click, but done right.
Yes, you know, it's like how Click in Click again. Click overall very disjointed movie, does not work.
Oh,
but
man.
the dramatic parts of that movie are really just factoring out all the bad comedy on the sides. The dramatic parts are really good, but
I can't overlook the bad comedy. That's the thing. The dramatic parts don't work for me because of the bad comedy.
That's the thing. I mean, I love the dramatic parts, but I don't need the rest of the kind. Give me those dramatic parts. I will watch that movie. I love the dramatic side of Click, but I shouldn't love the dramatic side of Click. That's the issue. It's like it's the punch drunk love Adam Sandler meets the over the top comedy.
Have you seen Punch Drunk Love, by the way?
Unfortunately, no. I've seen.
Punch Drunk Love is it's by far the best you'll ever see Adam Sandler. I'll just say that much.
I've seen parts of it, and I've seen some really good parts of it. But
amazing. It's one of my personal favorite movies. But anyway,
back to the thing. Let me finish up on this thing. And also mention my little Neil moment.
Okay.
So again, I love the whole sequence. Again, it embodies a great thematic thing of like, you know, this is Christmas without. This is the horrific image of like Christmas without the magic. It's got a powerful message of, you know, commercialism. Unfortunately, in real life, commercialism might take us to this point of like where we corrupt something so magical, just focused on like kind of the Black Friday sales and everything. Like it's all about the shopping, it's all about the materialism, it's all about us as a culture potentially, you know, becoming more and more ingrained in the stuff over the feeling we had with the stuff.
And you know what? That's exactly why I had my little opening soliloquy about the fact that I'm really not getting any material Christmas presents this year. It's all about the experience.
Exactly, but you know, you see what I mean. That's why this sequence is so impactful. That's why I love this sequence. You know what I mean?
Sure. Totally,
anyways, and the follow-up is really good too, and this is just a great follow-up for the trilogy itself with Neil here. So Neil and Lucy walk by, and Scott's saying, "Neil, Lucy," and you know, Lucy gives him the cold shoulder. But then there's this moment where it's the Wonderful Life moment. He needs some information so he can go off of like what happened here, what he needs to fix, and he asks Neil sincerely, and Tim Allen, wonderful dramatic actor when he has the chance. He's really great. He just says, "Neil, please just tell me what happened." And he says, "You really don't know." Again, it's more to this great scene is placed on Neil himself, which is great. Where he just says, he's just grabbing his arm. He looks in Tim Allen's eyes, and he's genuinely sincere about this. He's not mocking me like he did in the first Santa Claus movie. He's genuinely asking, "What happened? Like what happened between you and Laura?" He says, "And you really don't know. I guess you wouldn't know. You weren't there." It's just like happening upon him. Man, you really were out of it.
Right. Totally.
And he tells him, "Well, you know what? Again, it's the logical progression. It's kind of here's the equivalent of it. It's the Doc Hopper moment from the not the Muppet movie, but from the Muppet Christmas movie."
Oh, I've never seen that.
Which something we're going to be talking about one of these days.
Yeah.
But that's all I'll say. But it's the Doc Hopper moment. It's the Doc Hopper moment.
Wait, so Doc Hopper comes back in that?
No, he doesn't come back. But there's a really impactful message. I won't tell you anymore. It's just there's a really impactful moment in relation to Doc Hopper in the Muppet Christmas movie. Regardless, there's the. It's the equivalent to that of like it's like something that makes sense of this would have logically happened without our character in this world, where it's and of Santa Claus, he wasn't warming up to Neil, so if he didn't have that Santa experience, Scott would have been the single guy. He would have just kind of let his life become more like workaholic or a dad, like not really involved in the divorcee lifestyle. There, Neil would have all the pressure of fatherhood put onto him because they know, Charlie would still not accept him as his father. Eventually, they have a kid, and that just breaks him up completely because they just can't handle two kids that just don't like Neil.
Well, does Lucy not like Neil in this?
I'm just saying, doesn't appreciate Neil, or we can assume like Neil because I can assume Charlie doesn't like Neil in this universe.
Oh, that's totally understandable. But yeah, I'm saying Lucy. It's like it's.
I'm saying Charlie doesn't like him, but I think Lucy just doesn't appreciate him. Which regardless, it's a world where like just the marriage. He's divorced from Laura, so that means Lucy is still a divorced child, though.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
Let's say this. I'm saying regardless, it's like still I'm using Dad for his money as he's trying to compensate. There's really a lot of sad levels to this. And Neil was trying to compensate for the divorce by buying her all the stuff.
Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of levels to this.
So that's all I'm saying. I'm saying Neil has a really great moment there, just saying, "I guess you really didn't know."
Okay, and then just regarding your whole bit with the commercialism and everything like that, I actually have a really sad story that relates to Disneyland in that regard. In that, I actually had a very similar experience to this when I went to Disneyland the most recent time, which was for my high school graduation.
Someone bring out the inside out tissues.
Well, just in terms of like, it was so disheartening to go there and like, you know, because I went to Disneyland for the first time when I was 11 years old, and it just fucking blew me away. It was magical. Just everything was like almost to the point of being like feasibly real, even though my 11-year-old mind knew it wasn't. And it just, the magic just got stripped away every time. You know, I would love to go there every year, but then the last time I went there, it was just, you know, it was in the summer and there was so many crowds, and just, dude, that was right at the point when Disney was really starting to push out their princess marketing everywhere, and it was really starting to kind of like overtake the parks. And I think that's a big problem now with Frozen. Like, Frozen's everywhere, even in areas where it's not really appropriate to have Frozen. So yeah, I remember just, you know, being like an 18-year-old and just being at Disneyland and being like, man, this is not what I remember from when I was a kid. So that moment really impacted me just on that level. It's very much kind of like the disenfranchisement that comes from a theme park, along with the whole Christmas message that it's carrying as well. All right. So I guess my next moment would probably be Jack Frost singing with, I'm sorry.
And Margaret.
Yeah, and
Sylvia.
Margaret, right. So this is just a great, like, there's a lot of good Jack Frost bits throughout this whole movie of him just being entirely manipulative and charming at the same time.
Did you just accuse me of being skillful and delicious?
Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, he's the most likable guy. I love it. I love it.
Look at what we've done. What have you done?
You know, it doesn't quite measure up to Toy Santa, but close second, close second.
By the way, I'll tell you what's so funny about that moment. In the sequence, you see him, like, hammering nothing, and that's why that sign falls, because he was actually hammering nothing.
Right, right.
Okay, I'm sorry, go on with you.
Okay, so, yeah, so like I said, he's talking to Aunt Margaret, and, and, you know, of course, Aunt Margaret.
There's a Toy Santa connection there, and there's a lot of Coco Chinos.
Oh, that's true, that's true. Oh, God. The
evolution of Coco in the Santa Claus trilogy. You have just the CD, the Coco and cookie dispenser. You have in the sleigh in the first movie. You have, of course, Toy Santa experiencing his hot cocoa like it's going out of style.
And then doesn't right. And then doesn't Tim Allen have a line at the end of the movie to Elizabeth Mitchell, like, I swear I'm not on cocoa?
Yeah, in this movie, it's like, he says, you've been drinking cocoa, haven't you? No.
So cocoa very much is the drug of the Santa Claus universe.
Well,
oh my God. Okay, so anyways, so Jack Frost, you know, like you said, they're drinking the Coco Chinos, which is great.
I gotta tell you, when I first saw the movie, when I saw it a second time, I kind of thought he drugged the tea, to be honest.
Oh God!
Because that's what I'm saying. He's sprinkling stuff in the tea, but I guess it's just the Coco Chino stuff. I'm just saying it's like the cinnamon, I guess. Because I'm just saying, if he's the bad guy and he's sprinkling stuff into the tea and he's giving one of it to the in-laws, then again he drinks it himself, so I guess he's fine.
Yeah.
But initially, you think he's up to something sinister when he's pouring the Coco Chino. It's like, who's thirsty? Coco Chinos.
Okay, but the moment really comes when you know, he brings up to Anne Margaret, like, oh, I bet you have the best voice. And then
of course, you know who Anne Margaret is, right?
The name sounds very familiar, but just remind me.
She's in a lot of Elvis movies, you know.
Right, sure.
And, you know, she's mainly dancing was her big thing, but also she would sing, and, you know, she was kind of an old film and movie, the film and television star.
Makes sense. So, you know, she starts with the first couple lines of what's the song? Just chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
The Nat King Cole song, you know.
Right. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
And the second line, what she delivers.
Jack Frost nipping at your nose. And then Jack Frost just, oh my God.
He gets chills. He loves, again, he has such an ego that many of his names mentioned, like, ooh.
I'm sorry, BlueDragonFive. This is going to sound inappropriate, and it is, but the best way I can describe Jack Frost's reaction is orgasmic. Orgasmic.
I knew you were going to say that.
He just totally, oh, Jack Frost. Frost. Ooh, that's right. That's right. My name's in the song. Ooh, feels so good.
Yeah, you reminded me of the A Million Ways to Die in the West bit where he's in with Amanda Seyfried and he's saying, I'm an important man. My mustache is an important factor of society.
So yeah, oh god. So that's basically just my moment, just Jack Frost getting like utterly aroused by the mention of his name in a Christmas song.
Let me just try to clean it up a little bit here. I love Martin Short's reaction just in the minute Carol comes in saying, oh, what are you two doing? Says, your mother is fantastic.
I also love the moment where she goes on to the third line. It's like, no, go back ahead to the second line.
Yeah, and then she's starting to like it too. So she says like a second time, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, and then after he says, your mother is fantastic, he says, would you like to be my elf? He says, what? He says, you heard me.
God, really fun. Really fun.
Frost.
Okay.
I love this sequence. I love the. There are three aspects of the sequence I really love. I love the unthawing of the parents. So Neil and Laura get frozen unceremoniously in the film to get them out of the picture. And
I was like, no.
Which, it's a plot device, but then again, they're not really going to be in the rest of the movie, and we need some drama for the third act. So it's you get why they did it in some aspect, but it kind of comes out of nowhere.
And I also think that I don't know, I'm kind of this was not one of my favorite scenes, but go ahead, tell me why you like it.
Well, I mean, you mean just the freezing or the unthawing?
No, the unthawing, and just because I think it kind of comes out of nowhere and kind of like drags the finale of the film on a little bit longer than it needs to be dragged on.
Let me tell you why I like it. Okay, so there are a few points this sequence hits, this scene hits that really jazz me up a bit. It really makes me. It's like short again. Second to that Scott Calvin realizing the commercials in a Christmas one. This one's my favorite sequence of the movie. So I love the unthawing the parents in that. Especially rewatching it, I found these great little elements of it. So the parents are weird out there because it is set up that they were frozen, so you got to unfreeze the parents. So that one you have to deal with in the third act. And of course, it's like Frost can't get away with scot-free. They have to address that. So they bring Frost in just the minute the realization of the parents. Santa Claus, he's now back in the game, and he's telling Lucy, and being the great Santa Claus that he's there for the kids. And he's saying, okay, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. He's reassuring there. And then there's this first great bit where Frost is brought in by the Elficers. Elficers, I have them. He says, ow. But no, here's the most love. First off, strike one here, and good strikes, by the way, good strikes, and then the other. Points for subjectivity.
Chalk it up, Steven. Chalk it up.
But I love again, I love dramatic Tim Allen. So you get this great bit by Tim Allen. He's just saying, Frost, unthaw the parents. This isn't funny. Unthaw the parents now. Just like the seriousness in his voice here. This is a real serious moment from Santa Claus. I love that. Right off the bat, just him telling the unthaw the parents right now. It's not funny. You and I have our business. You just get unthawed, and it's not cool. You do not thaw. Like essentially, you don't kill the parents. So you don't. That's not right. That is not funny. Your little pranks or thing, naughty or nice, it doesn't matter. Just unthaw the parents, not right. They're my family too. I don't like that. The drama that's part one of this. Part two is like then of course the realization that you can't be thawed unless I thaw myself, which isn't gonna happen. Which then, of course, the magical hug comes into the fray here, which I'll admit, but it is set up, really forcibly set up beforehand. But the payoff here is where it sells me. It's like this girl is like getting up, is like walking up to him, and she's a little nervous about it. Santa Claus is like saying, "Hey, it only works if you think it works." Basically saying like, it's not a question of if I think it'll work. It's a question of if you think it'll work. It's it's your magical hug. She walks up there. This little girl is like, she's gonna hug the bad. It's a way of defeating the bad guy non-violently. Which, first of all, I think is a great idea.
Not as cool as tickling from Twas the Night, but
yeah, exactly. But still, it's nice. It's like she walks up to him and says, "This is your weapon." A little girl, and she hugs him, and he's thinking, "Oh, what's this?" And then basically he's just so overcome by, first of all, the surprise of a hug by this little girl, like. Well, I've never felt this. No one's ever really hugged me before, because I'm a cold guy. And as he's being hugged, and he's like, you see these cracks starting to form around him. You get some Martin Short comedy of like him making sound effects and stuff like he's being warm. But that's a little here and there. Point is, as it happened, she's hugging him, and then there's this bit here. This bit is what kind of warms my heart. It's right here. The score is at its absolute finest right here. I love the score in this moment right here. This is part one. This is part two of it. As she hugs him, the score kicks in right as after he does his shtick here, as he's making his jokes. He says, "What are you doing? I'm warming your heart. They told me it couldn't be done." As he says that, the music kicks in, like the choir, like da 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 da. I'm not doing any justice, but it's like seriously, it gets really lyrical and really beautiful. The score in this moment, and here's what kills it for me. This is the third part. And this is what just. I'm sold absolutely with this moment. Rewatching, I love this moment. I fall in love with it. As that score is at its best, as after that heartwarming line is said, Alan Arkin is on screen, and he's just gives us like dramatic, like he's us the audience after that line. He's just like he's in tears, like oh my god. Basically, this dramatic, this beautiful music is playing during this heartwarming moment, and Alan Arkin is representative of us the audience, giving like this cry face, and it's hysterical. Just give him like oh my god, this is beautiful, and that's what sells me. I don't like the payoff though. I don't like I was never crazy about Martin Short unfrozen because it doesn't look as cool. It looks really goofy.
He doesn't look as cool, but I think it's kind of satisfying from a character point of view.
But what doesn't sell me, I think the Hallelujah is very forced. I don't like the Hallelujah.
Yeah, that's true.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. And of course, the effects of Laura being unfrozen looks. We'll get into the effects when we get to the naughty, but
Oh God, yeah.
We'll get into it. But still,
the naughty. Oh man.
But seriously, just with that sequence, though, you see what I'm saying about why the unthawing sequence is really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So I guess
the Alan Arkin face, I could watch that. I'm gonna crack up laughing every time.
Ooh, trains.
Yeah, again, it's if I'm either cracking up or I'm actually feeling a lot right there. Just like, oh my god, that's beautiful.
All right, so my last moment is just what's simply known as the Back to the Future Part 2 finale. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, BlueDragonFive, I must imagine that the filmmakers had this in mind when they were making
How can they not? How can you not?
Right.
I mean, you gotta remember, Back to the Future 2 was groundbreaking in that there was like the two things going on simultaneously: our present day characters and our past characters. That was Back to the Future's claim to fame with 2.
Sure, definitely. Well, claim to fame along with the whole 2015 thing, of course.
Of course.
But all right, so I got to admit I was a little thrown off by this at first because we see Jack Frost and Tim Allen get transported back into 1994.
You hit me with a shovel.
Right.
I'm sorry. I love it's in the trailer, and I love every time I hear Tim Allen deliver that line. You hit me with a shovel.
I was a little thrown off because they leave, and I'm like, wait, you just blew a perfect opportunity to have like Charlie and Charlie and Scott come out and the whole Santa Claus reveal thing. So of course, when we got back to the finale, and that was literally like the climax of the movie, I was like, oh good, they did not blow that opportunity.
Well, remember, the idea is he distracts. He does it before Scott gets out there first to knock him off the roof. That's the idea.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I just thought like, oh, you're right outside the house, and Scott and Charlie are going to be coming out any minute. Like that's just, I don't know.
But good props for like how they integrated that. By the way, that's a good effect. That is a good example of like how they have like the setting just like there and still like, using the old footage. That looks great though.
Mm-hmm. So then, in the finale, we have it all cut back. I just love the editing in this bit. I love cutting back and forth between like the classic bits that we remember from the original.
Because once he puts on the coat, it's over for Frost. That's the idea. Once he puts on the coat, it's over. So they have to do the scenes in the movie, which is a great progression of that. They have to show him like go into the second house.
Of course. So yeah, like you said, it's like it's all building up. It's like Scott and Jack Frost are duking it out, and and we see Charlie. He's like, Dad, look, it's Santa, and then we see him up on the roof. Dad, you've got to see this with the reindeer. We're like, oh God, it's coming.
By the way, there's a hilarious outtake I want to mention real quick. Did you see the outtakes?
No, I did not.
How are you missing the? Okay, right, I forgot. Sorry.
Because I just turn it off when the credits start rolling. That's why.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I realize it. But look, this one actually has outtakes, and these outtakes are hilarious. But there's this one where basically Martin Short and Tim Allen are fighting in that scene where there's hide behind the snowman. Mm-hmm. And there's this one gag. It's hysterical. Where Martin Short, it's the line of, "Oh, you don't look like Santa," and then Martin Short just improvs. Well, I am. And then Tim Allen says, they're both cracking up at it. And then Tim Allen just says, I just love the way he said it. Just, well, I am. Sorry, just want to mention that real quick.
Just I can totally picture that Tim Allen delivery.
They're showing their camaraderie. That's all. I'm sorry.
Okay, but I don't know. It's just, like, I don't really have any sort of like general highlights from this. It's just the fact that it's like fucking Back to the Future 2 in the Santa Claus universe.
Tim Allen commenting on it. Whoa, it's freaky.
Oh God. Whoa, this is heavy. But I do love the editing bit when when it's the end of the fight and then Scott puts on the suit and he's like, "How do I look?"
Yeah.
So that's really good stuff. And just overall, just a really, really good homage to Back to the Future too.
And Frost's nose is pretty funny. No.
Yeah, but I am so tainted by any
let your nose go.
No, I will never. That is like the single worst. I still say that's that's the single most offensive addition to the special editions. Is the
addition to the special? Yes, I'm saying the original no wasn't all. People are overreacting with that no.
No, also no.
I think. Wait, are you saying no to that no, or are you saying no just no to no?
No, I'm saying people reacted to the original Darth Vader no. Is that what you're talking about?
The original no, yes, I know it became a meme, but the original no wasn't. Yeah, it's like it's overly dramatic. Yes,
no, I don't care that it became a meme. What it did was it made Darth Vader look like a whiny teenager when he was Darth Vader.
He just found out Padme died. It's no-worthy.
Yeah, it's no-worthy. All right, well
Okay, yeah, we're not.
We could beat this horse all day, but
okay. Regardless, I don't think we should.
Shot first, by the way.
I don't think we should taint every no. So I think this no is fine.
Fair enough.
Like again, I love my Mark Hamill. No. That's not true. That's impossible. Okay,
and you know what? I think that was probably what the Vader no was going for, but they just failed miserably at it.
Oh no! That's not true. Padme can't be dead. That's impossible.
Okay, you know what? If Vader actually would have said that's not true, that's impossible, I probably would have liked it a little more. That would have been a neat little echo. Anyways, we're getting so far off topic.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So my third scene goes. It's real simple. It's in the beginning where we just see a really stressed out Santa Claus at the meeting of the legendary figures. And Frost is like talking about his ego. Says, "Yeah, you get the mugs, you get the specials. All I get is some, some dead citrus or something in some dead citrus. Yeah, you get the songs, you get everything. All I get is snow and some dead citrus, or something." Boy, then I just love Tim Allen again. It's always all my moments have dramatic Tim Allen in it. But it's just I love just Santa Claus just listing off while he's stressed out. You get to see some vulnerability on Santa Claus. You're just saying, I wasn't the best father. I wasn't the best father a good time. I'm a little wigged about a father again because I didn't do so good about it the first time. But it's just he's like listening to the in-laws who were mad every time I turn around. You feel the stress of Santa Claus in the room. You feel bad for him. It's like, oh man, he's like snapping at Frost here. Yeah, he's a jolly guy, but still sees the attitude still. He's just snapping at Frost. Frost, you think you could do my job? You know what I'm dealing with? All this stress. He lists off the stressful stuff. That was a good scene. I like that.
Yeah, totally.
And again, I think that was the crux of the strength of the first deck. Like you buy in, this is like another adventure you believe that would happen in this universe of Scott is now saddled into like everything's going his way, but he's still stressed out around the holidays because of stuff that you can't have the perfect life without an aftermath.
I like how basically this whole trilogy is essentially like the day-to-day mundanity of being Santa Claus.
Yeah, a lot of meetings.
And
again, what's so interesting about that is the same life that he left in that, it was about all business meetings, about like the Santa tank and all that stuff. And then with the toy design, the first movie.
Right.
And, it's all meetings. And he thinks, okay, well, Santa Claus, I guess I don't have to do any meetings. Wrong again. The legendary council meetings, a lot of meetings to go to. Okay, so let's get to the nice stuff. What do we like about this movie?
Okay, so I think the sense of humor, for the most part, is very on point.
First act dilemma works, as I just mentioned. I won't rehash it again. Martin Short is very fun. He's just the egomaniac Jack Frost in the suit works very well.
We haven't really brought it up, but I just love the whole, the whole section of the film where he's going around the North Pole, just destroying everything in his path.
I love the frost with the effects. This is one mention. There are a few good effects. Again, the integration of past and present is good, and I love the frost effect.
The frost effect is very good.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, say what you will about the effects, but the frost effect is great. I mean, I remember seeing that plume in the theater, just that plume of ice, and that was so well animated, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So, again, we spent a lot of time in the North Pole with this movie, and that's not bad.
I actually kind of view that as both a pro and a con.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah. I mean, I have a bit similar to that.
It's a pro in that we definitely get a lot more whimsical elements of this movie, but it's a con in that we don't really have grounded real world quality.
Well, I'll get into it with the naughty. I reference that, but I'm saying it's a positive. You're right, though. It's a positive and a negative. So again, the biggest thing I've kind of gleaned with, I've kind of hinted at it already, but I'll say it again. I think it's a very intriguing idea of Scott's lifestyle corrupting his happiness. That's weighing on him for the stories. That he's busy around the holidays with the kid on the way. That he is basically he's in the same position he was in Santa Claus when it's all coming back. It's all coming full circle. That he thinks, I'm Santa Claus. I don't have to worry about the stuff I left behind in Santa Claus 1 of being like the workaholic guy. And now he's a kid on the way, so it's kind of weighing on him whether he admits it or not. That soon there'll be a kid. If he's working like this around the whole year, around getting ready for Christmas time, I mean, it could be like how he was with Charlie in the first movie. He could be kind of the dad that's working. He's busy a lot. Doesn't really take a lot of time with the kid or the wife, as he neglects Carol a lot in this movie. And he doesn't like doing that, but he has to because again, it's this demented devil's advocate, not devil's advocate. There's this demented choice he has, where it's like his family, his kids, and spend time with them, or the whole free world of children to choose between. Like again, as he mentions, like okay, well I'll talk to you guys, and in response, like the continent goes without toys. That's psychotic. I mean, no wonder he's stressed out. I mean, again, I just love this idea of putting him back in that position he's in. It's Scott really. That's the underlining smart idea of the movie, of that Scott is dealing with being put in that position of becoming was, and especially when he goes back in time, seeing, if I were alleviated of the stresses of Santa Claus, my life would still be miserable. Again, he didn't wish for the It's a Wonderful Life thing. He was tricked into it, but it's still the same conflict of like, you have your work, you have your success, but where does that leave you and your family?
Right.
Let's see, again, the family issues around the holidays. That's an interesting conflict for Santa to have. And he's just trying to keep everyone happy, keep everyone together, still jolly. He's not really snapping at people until that one scene.
I feel like the character progression for almost all of the characters is really spot on.
Okay.
I really like Neil. I really like, let's see. I think Spencer Breslin is actually, like I said, I think he does get a little bit more to do here.
He has more to do, but I get issues with it, which I'll get into.
Okay. Well, chalk it up to subjectivity, Stephen.
That's fair. It's fair. Again, there's a lot of inventiveness. There's a lot of inventiveness in this movie, and it makes you really root for Santa Claus. Like, remember when he's like inventing the new toy out of the remains of the toys?
I would actually dare to say this is the most original out of the three.
Well, the first one was pretty original. It was the start of it. Remember?
Yeah, I know, but I just think this movie has like a lot of really creative ideas going on with it.
I mean, it's always kind of a gutsy move to do It's a Wonderful Life meets Back to the Future too. It's kind of a cool mixture.
Right.
But I mean, there is some great moments of inventiveness to it, the creativity there. I think again, there's a great, fantastic underlying message in that sequence in the third act of why the magic of Christmas makes a difference in the danger of commercialism in comparison. We need the magic of Christmas. We need these things. We need like the North Pole not to be something you can see. Remember the whole thing in the first movie about and the second movie about seeing is believing and believing is seeing. It's like if you saw the North Pole, well, it exists, yeah. But basically, if you see these magical things occur and you don't ask why, then they're all the more magical. And if you know it and you can actually put yourself in you pay money to have yourself put on a naughty and nice list, where's the magic? It's gone. It's sucked out of it. It's pure commercialism. It's ridiculous. It's terrifyingly bereft of hope. It is.
Yeah, it's a really good commentary on, where
It's
we've come as a culture when it comes to Christmas.
It's like, why be? It's like, the naughty nice list is a thing just to kind of encourage people to be good. Don't be an a-hole the years. So you can say it's a good list. But if you can just pay money to be put on the naughty or nice list, I mean
That's kind of like the definition of being an a-hole unto itself.
that's like saying do all the most morally reprehensible things you want as long as you go down to you pay for a plane ticket and pay some cash to be put on a nice list, and all the stuff you've done, it goes away. It does not make it doesn't work like that.
Right.
And it's the idea again. The idea, in addition to that, is like, if Scott continued on his path in the original Santa Claus movie, everyone's lives would have gone to a bad place, and Scott would have just kind of been miserable and alone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Santa Claus has benefited his life in a great way, as Neil and Laura have said.
Mm-hmm.
And also, a last thing I got here is the villain is redeemed and no harm is done, because again, the parents are unfrozen, and none of the damage Frost has done is really irreparable.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's a neat thing where the villain didn't hurt anyone badly, and again,
I don't even really think the villain is that malicious, to tell you the truth. I really do think
he's not malicious. He's skillful and delicious.
No, but you know what I mean. I definitely think he's he's more kind of, he's trying to overcompensate for being this kind of forgotten holiday icon, but he's doing it in the wrong way.
Yeah, it's like it's the thing of Jack Frost is always about being the forgotten holiday, because he only gets that one line in the song. It makes sense why he's embittered.
Right.
Yeah, I love the villain being redeemed. You don't see that often enough. It's like, usually I screw him, just put him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Or kill him.
Totally.
Nowadays it's all about kill the villain, kill him. Cut his head off.
Oh God.
Okay, so let's get to the naughty.
Okay, so the effects.
No Bernard, less Charlie, and I'm sorry, the effects.
Yeah.
What effects in particular? Of course, I know the big one. What are some of the others?
Well, what is the big one you're talking?
The big one is the unthawing looks really bad.
Yeah, that's true.
That is the worst. I will say that's, at least to my knowledge, unless you bring something I didn't think of, that is the worst effect in the movie when they're unthawed. And
it literally looks like someone came in, and I'm sure this is actually what they did. Like someone just came into like Adobe After Effects, like, put in like the frozen, the frozen people, and then you have like the actors like unthaw, the actors like kind of acting out the unthawing like on top of that.
Let me mention one positive thing about the unthawing, just like after the bad effect of it, though. I love this is mainly to the actor's performance, and this is just really kind of a heartwarming moment. Is that after the hug that thawed Jack Frost, I love the it's a practical thing, but also it's a sweet thing that Neil instantly he hugs Charlie.
Yeah, I noticed that. I actually did pick up on that. Yeah,
I mean, one, I just love that Charlie is also in many ways his son in many ways, and that's the first guy he goes to hug him close, because again he was really terrified he's being frozen like that, but also practically he needs someone to huddle up to get warm. They instantly calls for group hug, everyone get in, because one, they're freezing, and secondly it's like so much emotion in the room. My daughter, thawed out Jack Frost. This is a magical moment. I'm very emotional. Everyone get in here for a group hug. You too, Mother Nature. You get in here right next to Alan Arkin. Easter Bunny, you next to Anne Margaret.
There's two effects in particular that I just found really bad. One of them was it's very early on in the film, and when it's when Scott kind of conjures up the baby mobile.
Mm.
I
like the idea of that. I like the idea of that effect, but you can't really do it practically though.
Why can't you do it practically?
Well, I mean, the way he has a string and he's like goes down and the whole thing appears. You can't really do the way
it goes down. The thing appears, and then but the whole thing, it's like literally like an animated CGI mobile.
I'm saying if there was a cut, then it could be practical.
That's what I'm saying. Have the cut. Just have the cut. It's not that hard.
You're right about that. If there was a cut that could make it practical, but I mean, see, the appearance has to be CG. That's the thing.
But you know what I mean, though. It looks awful.
I got you there. I mean, rewatching it. Yeah, I was hoping I was misremembering it. That it would be practical after a cut, but no, it is absolutely CG.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the idea of it though. He has like a little string out and then a little magic. And of course, I do. Now this effect actually is this next one I'm going to mention here. I love the fireplace effect.
Oh yeah, that's a really creative touch.
I mean, like again, it's in the shape of his face too, which all the Santa merchandise takes the face of the current Santa, which is great.
Okay, and then the other effect is just kind of like all the time that you see, not necessarily when Jack Frost is freezing people, but just when you see like the little kind of like icicle kind of snow things following him
Yes,
around.
I'm sorry, I didn't know about the snowflakes falling around. I just remember his face turns blue.
No, I don't know. It's there's a couple moments where there's just like these little CGI snowflakes that are kind of like in the area when he's
Oh, right.
around.
Wait, I got you. I remember what you're talking about now. It's when he freezes the parents, you see them floating around there.
Right, right. And like I said, I like the actual freezing effect. I just think those like snowflake particle things look really fake.
By the way, I wish the only problem with the parents, they don't really look that frozen. It's like plaster cast with that effect. You know, it looks really.
Right.
Those are really bad frozen dummies of the parents
It
too.
is. It is.
And
I would
again,
not be surprised if this movie had a lower budget than Santa Claus 2.
you know, I don't understand why they couldn't have just like had like the actors in a plaster cast moving around. They add like a few like kind of cold effects like after they get out of the thing, but they couldn't just they break out of the plaster cast practically.
Mm-hmm. And then also when the Sandman kind of like spreads all the Z's around the in-laws.
Okay, the Z thing wasn't bad. The Z thing was okay.
I thought it looked like an Adobe After Effect myself.
I don't know. The Z thing is cute. It's like it has little Z's going around.
I like the idea. I just thought like it was just seemed like a really cheap kind of computer effect.
I think when he blows them around, then I think when there's lingering in the air, it looks good. But just when he blows them around, yeah, you're right. Then it looks kind of pretty forced.
Right, right. I mean, don't get me. I don't think the effects ruin the movie by any stretch, but like I said, I think it's pretty obvious this movie was made on a lower budget.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, there's like a neat trick with them when they're kind of coming in from the pole to the Santa's got a hot rod, which is kind of a fun sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that effect looks good. I mean, again, the effects are here and there at places.
Okay.
Like, let's see. Laura is unfairly compounds Scott's seasonal stress with the more visitors thing. Like basically that I have an issue with when she's so I have issues with one of your favorite sequences. I know. I hate. I mean, seriously, Laura is. Scott has told her I don't know how much Scott's told her. I think it's easy for her to pick up on the fact that, okay, well, right now more people at the North Pole. It's not going to be helping them out. And she basically invites herself, and it's not just Lucy. Lucy wants to go, and I get that. Okay, Lucy, that's not an encumbrance. Okay, she's going to be there for support.
To be fair on my moment is
Neil.
That's 100% Neil.
Yeah.
And Neil is defending for Lucy. He's not saying all three of them should go. He's completely arguing for Lucy to go.
Well, you want to hang on. I got to get in the Neil in a minute. Okay, but mainly with Laura. Laura's the majority of this, though. Just Laura can obviously see it. You know, Scott's under a lot of stress. And secondly, I mean, you unceremoniously invite yourself and Neil to go along with her. And to go along with her, which is like, you know, it's more people going to North Pole. Which again, he mentions, you know, I don't even know if I have enough room in the sled. You know, you guys, I can't really have you going out having the in-laws over. He's mentioning making very good arguments not to have them over. I mean, I don't like her unceremoniously inviting herself, and like Scott is making a point of like giving her the signal, the cut it out signal behind Lucy. He's like, no, don't do that. I can't have you over right now. So she's very oblivious. I don't like that for Laura. Let's see. With Neil and the therapy stuff, it's I can forgive it with the elves. I can take the elf. The elf thing's fine, but this one felt really. This one just felt silly to me. It was like, dude, let's take a moment of inventory here. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Well, like I said, I like it because it's kind of like it's turning his character from the first movie on its head.
Yeah, I know. I think I just mostly tainted by it for like what brings about like Scott is just really over a barrel with the Neil stuff. It's like, oh, now he's just completely can't get out of it now. The I mean, it's like what he's saying. It's like it fits for Neil, but it's a little weird. It's not bad. It's just like I hate the circumstances of it. It's mainly my issue with it. But again, I'll take the therapy. The yoga thing's fine. Yoga thing's funny.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, here's the worst. Okay, here's my worst naughty moment here. This is the worst. This one is a big problem for me. Bud and Sylvia have that very insensitive, again, as much as I really hate to use this word, awkward moment with Neil and Laura, where they basically said they realize the in-laws are, oh, look who woke up. Neil and Laura reveal themselves to Ben and to Bud and Sylvia.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, Carol's, joyous, and they say, "Oh, hey guys, hey!" And they're all happy-go-lucky, and they're all meeting each other. Look who woke up! And then Sylvia says, as Scott is about to walk in there, and basically says to Carol, "Well, if you're not threatened," just blatantly says right in front of him, "Well, if you're not intimidated by the fact that Scott's ex-wife, your husband's ex-wife, is here, why should we be?" I'm saying, who says that?
Oh God, yeah.
That
Oh,
is my
that was so forced. That was so fucking
That
forced.
to me is my word. They do nothing with that. Is the worst moment in this movie to me. I hate that moment. It just makes who says you insensitive prick? Who says that?
And the whole thing with Scott and Laura, that's never been an issue throughout the trilogy, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
That's actually kind of the things I like about this
and
trilogy is
here's the
the fact
problem.
that
She's saying it right in front of Laura and
oh,
Neil.
I know. Oh boy.
It's
No,
not
but
enough. You
seriously,
don't.
I think this trilogy, like, it really does kind of subvert the whole, like, oh, the evil ex-wife and the bad and the bad boyfriend. It's like, no, it's like Neil and Laura are perfectly fine, bearing the one thing that you just pointed out. I'll agree with you there. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally agree.
Also, Curtis can't handle anything by himself, which bugs me. He's just
Right.
completely helpless, which again, I don't mind. Curtis's stuff, I don't mind him like becoming the head elf, but you're right, the number one thing doesn't help. Uh, but just Curtis continuing the Curtis seems so inept. That's my problem with it. He just can't. Santa Claus gives him instructions, and Curtis obviously knows what's going on here. After I think Curtis's best moments when he kind of goes and recaps the whole secret of Santa, how it leads to the destruction of the North Pole. I love that little sequence he has there. Curtis just seems very inept and very incompetent in this movie to me. Like he's like with Frost, he gives away the whole snow globe thing because of his ego, which still kind of bugs me, but I can live with that. Because you need it to happen so he knows about the snow globes. I mean, worst. It's just really bad that he's just like every 5 minutes, as he knows, Santa's got this stressful thing with his family going on right now. He's calling every 5 minutes about every little thing. Does he have no training at all?
Yeah, I hear you.
It seems like he doesn't deserve the head elf position. It makes me miss Bernard, which shouldn't be happening if they're doing their job right. Which in this case they're not. So I have big issues with Curtis in that regard.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I think Frost. I'm sorry. Let me see. I think Frost can be a little much in places. Like it's like maybe they could have cut a few lines out of just Martin Short improvising, but they're not bad. It's just like a little much.
Mm.
Like when he's just kind of like go on delay, and again when he's just doing all the shtick in the middle of that really heartwarming sequence, quite literally, it's like just cut it out a little bit. So like I get the suntan lotion gay, ha ha, funny, but let's move it on a little bit. That's what I'm saying. It's like not bad stuff, and it's funny, but he's charismatic and you love the guy. Just a little bit, speed up. Let's see. Also with the whole Laura unfairly compounding stuff on Scott, just kind of inviting herself unceremoniously. When you think about it, this is just something I kind of noticed. Because of Lucy going to the North Pole, that's how Frost happened upon the snow globe entry code. So the point is like the whole snow globes thing is all because of Lucy. All because Lucy was invited there. That's all he went through. All
right.
that.
Right. Fair enough.
And because of that, it's more that because of that, Laura and Neil got their comeuppance. They were frozen because they invited themselves there. Because this whole snow globes, you got out of there. Just mom and dad, which is my other issue. Lucy, your go-to is for mom and dad to go up against Jack Frost. What do you expect them to do? Go for Santa. Go for the big guy. Go for any of the legendary figures on right. Go for Santa. Go for Curtis. At least if he gets frozen, no one cares because he sucks at his job. I'm sorry, Curtis is a thorn in my side here. What is Lucy thinking going to her parents? It's like Bruce Wayne saying, "Oh, a mugger. I'm not going to go for the police officer. I'm going for mom and dad." Just not smart in the least. Okay, so again, overall, this is what I'm picking up with the whole the setting in the North Pole here. Until the third act of the movie, you don't really have the same real world setting that the other two had. Which again, that's why the third act works a lot because you were kind of in a. Oddly enough, you're still back at the North Pole, but I mean, you get like it's infused reality from the first two movies. That's a lot like being outside of the North Pole.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think the second movie in particular worked really well in terms of being away from the North Pole and still having a lot of magic in it.
Oh yeah.
And here it's like I feel like it kind of like you get a lot of the creativity, you get a lot of the the wonder and the whimsy of the North Pole, but you also just get a lot of like goofy shenanigan antics, which kind of hurts the tone of the film as a whole.
Mm.
But you're absolutely right. Once they get to that third act, then it becomes really good. So.
And again, overall, as let me say it again, the first act, the setup for the movie works, and the third act very powerful. But that second act, it just drags on. It's not so much that it drags on. It's like you get these moments of because I don't think we've mentioned it enough. Perhaps it's that you get these that argument is really forced, like the whole the tree topper sequence. Like when that gets smashed, wrong. You feel bad for.
I totally agree. That's
Yeah,
a really, really forced moment.
So that's also something you might want to bring up. So let's talk a little bit about Elizabeth Mitchell in that scene. I think her acting is good in that scene, like being emotionally distraught. But unfortunately, it's not enough to play with her. It's just like she plays sad really well.
So now, like that, she has no emotional attachment to that, right? To the tree topper.
Well, it's that she has emotional attachment to it. It's that they put up at least.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but I think it would have played a lot better if maybe in the second movie she would have like mentioned it. You know what I mean?
No, it's just like her and Scott have been putting that up there. Yeah, they're right. There's not enough attachment.
I mean, if it was like a family thing that was like if that was the tree topper that she used with her family when she was a kid,
you're right.
Understand the reaction.
Okay, you're right about that. I think she plays the reaction well though. Like just kind of like you feel bad for Carol.
She plays it well because Elizabeth Mitchell is a damn good actress.
That's what I'm saying. That's the crime. Is she doesn't get enough to play with. I mean, the scenes she does get to play. I mean, she's still doing the best she can with it. That's the thing. She's just still knocking out of the ballpark what she has.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the issue with this scene is it's a forced argument. That's the issue. Like Scott is in the right. I want to make that clear. Scott is in the right. Then the in-laws are making things harsh because they are just kind of. I mean, outside of their comedic bickering, it's like a lot of just they're just insulting people left and right, which is an issue.
Yeah, totally.
So Scott's in the right here. You guys are just making things worse. I bring you down here and just to help Carol through this time. You're not really haven't spent aside from the delivery room gag, you haven't really helped out at all.
I mean, I do think it's one of the most like forced and out of nowhere lows of lows I've ever seen in a movie. Quite frankly.
Yeah. And then of course Carol saying that's this one moment. Unfortunately, much of that pains me, so we kind of have to take away from Elizabeth Mitchell for a moment. I say that defensively. Bear in mind. Where she says maybe it was a mistake for me to come here too. Like, oh come on, Carol, that's an overreaction. Like, come on, you have many happy. You love Scott. Don't say that.
But you know what? I think that's probably a flaw with the writing more than it is with Elizabeth Mitchell's acting, though.
You know what? I'll give you that. I'm just saying the way it plays like it comes out of nowhere. That one comes out of nowhere.
Right.
But it's. And that's again, that's the main issue with the second act. Like it's all getting to that fourth scene, which gets us to our third act, and that's the issue. Really, it dwells on getting us there. And once we're there,
the second act does have a lot of fun with Jack Frost. Just basically going around trolling people, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, aside from Jack Frost shenanigans and Jack Frost fun, like some Santa, like amidst the chaos comedy, it's repetitive and it's getting us to a place that's not as satisfying. It feels very forced.
Totally.
So second act is where the movie drops, and that's where it gets most of its kind of bad marks in the second act. But the first act's good setup. It's in the Santa Claus universe. Third act is when we do some new stuff with it that really works. Okay. So yeah, I guess that said, third act being good. How does it stack up as not just as a holiday movie, but as like the ending to a trilogy, ending to this trilogy?
I mean, I think the whole Return of the Jedi comparison. I mean, fucking obviously, this trilogy is nowhere near Star Wars. I mean,
I know that. I'm just saying in terms of like the reception of it.
Yeah, totally. But no, I actually think people hate this movie, whereas people, they pick apart Return of the Jedi, but they still really like it for the most part.
Okay, fine. It's I want to say Godfather. People love Godfather 1, though. That's the thing.
Well, with Godfather, I
Some
think
people
Godfather.
genuinely hate Godfather 3. That's a thing. So people really hate
I've
it.
never seen Godfather 3 myself.
I see redeeming values of it, but it doesn't hold a candle to the first two.
Well, yeah, of course, of
But yeah,
course.
people, it's like that's see, the term Godfathering something has two meanings. One means the direct meaning is that you basically do two really great movies, and then the third one's just terrible. The other meaning, one I like, is that when you Godfather something, it's like how you are the literal Godfather to a movie where you're overseeing it, like you do,
Essentially, kind of like Joss Whedon with the Avengers.
or particularly George Lucas with the original trilogy. That's
Sure,
Godfathering it. That's the main.
sure.
That's kind of the street terminology of it, where the actual terminology is ruining the third movie.
hmm But I mean, yeah, I like it's definitely the weakest of the three. But having said that, I don't think it's inherently a bad movie. I think it's a flawed but very enjoyable movie.
Yeah, we could still watch this again, right?
Oh, I'd be happy to watch this again. Yeah, I totally would. It's not like a movie where I don't know. To me, the most offensive movies are just kind of the mediocre ones where it's just kind of like absolutely no effort went into it at all.
Mm.
And for that reason, that's why The Room is God honestly one of my favorite movies, is because yeah, it's shit. It's total shit, but you could just see the passion behind it, and it's fucking awesome like that. So I don't know. With this, it kind of lies somewhere in the middle. It's like you could tell that there was creativity behind this. There was effort in it. Tim Allen. You could tell Tim Allen like being there. So overall, I don't think it deserves the bad reputation this film has. Like certainly nowhere fucking near. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. Not even close.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: do you think it's a bad way to end the trilogy? Because I don't think it's a
No,
bad. Yeah,
no,
that's fine.
absolutely not.
I don't. It's not a bad way to end the trilogy, and it's. But yeah, maybe it could have been better in places. Again, that second act could have been improved.
It could have, but I think I
I
don't
mean,
necessarily
I
think
can
we're
live with this.
nitpicking. I think there are flaws, but
I can live with this trilogy. I can live with this ending for the trilogy. I can live
yeah,
with it easily.
totally.
It's like again, there's enough good stuff in this thing. I can take it.
Hmm.
It's got some powerful moments. As I mentioned, I will always. That's the best thing about this movie. I can look back to that the great dramatic moment of Tim Allen, kind of taking a moment to take it all in. I can always look to that moment, and the Alan Arkin reaction is move me yet make me laugh at the same time. It's a solid Tim Allen performance in this movie, and it's a solid. It's solid enough as a film. It passes.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And again, it's the second one's the best. First one's kind of the classic, and this one's solid.
Yeah, like I said, it's nowhere near 15% on Rotten Tomatoes bad. That's
Yeah,
really the point I want to get across here.
yeah. Bear in mind, the critics are always their movies, even the greatest movies, always with any bad movie that has bad marks on bad critic rating. Always got to factor in that. Even some of the best movies in history have gotten bad critical ratings, and like I want to say, I'm probably screwing up which movies are which here, but like movies like as an example, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off probably didn't go well with the critics, but it's a cult classic and people love it. That's what I'm saying. The equivalent of that. Like again, I could be wrong on that with the critics, right? Because sometimes they get reanalyzed, they change. But some movies that we love are ripped apart by critics.
Oh,
But they're
totally,
actually,
totally.
of course, they're great to us. And I mean, sometimes the critics you can't just take them all at face value. It depends how you view the movie.
You know what one of the best examples of that is? Fucking Citizen Kane of all movies.
Ah, yes, that's okay. There's a great example. Okay. Right. I knew there was one. I was just an obvious one I was forgetting.
No, yeah, Citizen Kane, that was like a box office bomb and people didn't really get it when it came out.
I always think people are unnecessarily harsh to Odd Couple 2. That's my example. I think Odd Couple 2 is really funny. The critics don't seem to agree with me.
Oh, well, I mean, if you want to get into like movies that critics don't like that I like, we could be here all day. But
We could, but we're not.
no.
So
Okay.
I guess we should again. Overall, Santa Claus 3. It's a worthy ending to the trilogy, and it's worth watching.
Yeah, I think it wraps up most of the characters in the trilogy in a very satisfying way. You know, it's like I wish we had Bernard in there.
I wish we had like a moment between Bernard and Charlie to kind of close out the trilogy, make it all come full circle. But we can't.
That would have been great. That would have been great. But
and we can't all get Toy Santa hot cocoa moments in every movie.
God, oh God.
But again, we can have a bad guy who loves cocoa in some variety.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's peek beneath the wrapping paper, if we may. Well, let's say we'll peek what we're talking about next.
Okay, well, go ahead and introduce it for us, because you're much more privy to this one than I am.
So, folks, this is a biggie. This is one I'm very thrilled at. So, I mean, everyone knows Arthur Christmas. Everyone loves Arthur Christmas, which is a great movie. Don't get me wrong. But the idea of the elves doing a lot of the prep work for the big man and for Santa Claus, kind of being assistants in that capacity. But you got to remember, I believe, and don't get me wrong, movies are always in production simultaneously. So I don't know if it might be an accident or whatnot. But I would like to think that. This is an idea that was one of the first big things. I want to say the first actual thing John Lasseter kind of put into production when he was in charge as the chief creative officer with Disney. So this is basically the first Christmas special that John Lasseter put forth, which is so wonderfully full circle because Toy Story way back in the day was going to be the Tin Toy Christmas special, which I kind of
right.
But the idea that John Lasseter kind of either, I don't know if he pitched it directly, but he okayed this little Christmas special called Prep and Landing, which is about the elves that they go into a house and they prepare the landing. They basically prepare the houses for Santa Claus's arrival. And it's like it basically was before Arthur Christmas had the whole legion of SWAT teams of elves.
Okay.
And it's a great creative idea. I think you're all gonna love.
Is it technically a Disney movie? Or
it's
a
Disney.
Pixar movie?
No, it's Disney, but it feels like a Pixar.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's in that great range of like kind of our Frozen, Wreck-It Ralph territory of creative ideas. It's really great. You're gonna love it. I think.
Okay.
I hope. Okay, so I guess that's it then, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, kids, time to dash away all. But as we wave goodbye, don't you cry. We'll be back again next time. Oh, oh, oh.
With even more seasonal shenanigans. Where's my cocoa?
Fa la 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 la. Your mother is fantastic.
Ooh, trains.